guys, we almost were going to go another 20 minutes. I mean, Rome Banks really close to being the first person ever put in timeout before the show even starts. But that's all right. It's Thirsty Thursday, 6-game slate. I'm JTHayes. JTHayes 15. Rome Banks gets you 15% off your first month's payment. You want to join Run Pure Sports because we have every sport. One price, Saber Sim, Cores, player pools, what have you. We've got 6 games tonight, and chat was, I'll be honest, we got a new feature. So you probably don't know about this. Now, behind the scenes, we have a new feature. We see your screen name, and it gives us a little thumbs up when you hit the like button. So we know who's hitting the like, and we know who's not hitting the like. And whoever's not hitting the like, I got to be honest, you run the risk of getting put in timeout. It's just such terrible mojo. And I have to counteract it by showing what my guys, VIP and Glock, are simply incapable of showing. Look at that. That is heaven. That is a beautiful, beautiful sky pick. That's today's sky pick. Man.
How come it only takes up a quarter of the screen? I like full screen versions.
Well, I got to be honest. I'm not happy about that either. Helmet fucked this up. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with him. We're going to get it fixed so that it'll take up the whole screen.
At least I can still see both of your mugs, though. That's nice on the outer layers of the sky.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, this is good camera work, VIP, by the way. Don't show me those negative, nasty branches and like a toxic pool. Whatever the hell you were showing me today on Twitter, absolutely disgusting. Sweet Travis, you're always in Denver. The live final is in Denver. I know you've had a busy day. You were solicited by another male, and that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen every single day to everybody, but I'm glad that you found the willpower to turn it down. How is your Thursday going? And when you get done telling us whatever you want to tell us about that awkward situation this afternoon, go ahead and give us a little bit of a preview of this 6-game slate, which we hope is a little bit better, maybe a little bit less injury-filled than last night's slate.
Oh, the only awkward situation was in the meeting room before we got here. Big T said he could take his shirt off. So if we get like 600 likes, Big T's shirt's coming off here for the people. So you better check that out. It should be fun if we get 600 likes. Big T will take his shirt off, but it should be a fun show here. Excited to talk NBA with you guys. We got the live final. Big T's here, JSU, Tambo. I mean, we got the crew, right? Locks, I don't know if he's making it, but Locks will definitely be, I think he's competing for it. So Title's in town. I think he's going to have a +1, so he'll be around. So should be a fun time. Hope I can catch a chance to see you guys. Maybe we can take the Denver bus around town as well. That could be a good time. But the slate overview, we were talking before the show. This is a Big T kind of slate. If there's a day to use the code JTHayes15 and see the Big T player pool, not to put too much pressure on Big T, but you got free squares and you got overpriced players. And that's what Big T likes. So it should be a fun slate. I'm excited to break it down with you guys. It's a little bit of a chalkier slate, but I think there's some spots that we can get a little bit different that we'll discuss. And P. Lally 10 is asking for a windmill. So maybe by the end of the show, if we can get the mojo good enough, just maybe we'll get a Big T windmill.
Yeah, and Jake Swalls or Swales? You know what? It's Swalls. It's Swalls. That's what you're
Swallows. What?
JT Swallows. Jakey Swalls.
JT Swallows? What?
JT Swallows is definitely an interesting
JT Swallows.
Jakey Swalls. Jakey Swalls.
All I heard so far was other males propositioning Mangone, and now JT Swallows. I mean, what is happening today?
I didn't say JT. I didn't say JT.
Oh, you did say JT? Well,
it sounds like JT.
You got to get back on track. I got to clear my mind. Jake Swallows.
Mangone, didn't you hear JT Swallows?
I heard JT Swallows.
One of you fucks is going to get put in timeout.
I can't control it today, so you can get me.
He says he has to glaze JT. That sounds disgusting. For his DeJounte pick, since I haven't seen him, it's a great pick. It's a great pick. One of the top 5 scorers on the night, I think, last Friday night. Very, very nice pick. Big T, you're in Denver, back closer to the home base, the original home base.
Yep.
In for the live final with a bunch of RPS coordinators, contributors, subscribers. You just got there. What's going on? How's the hotel? Who do you plan to meet up with? Yeah, I know that before we came on, you offered to have Travis meet up with you, which seems like it's safe now that we know that Travis can resist peer pressure. So how's it going?
Yeah, I actually got here yesterday because it was my mom's birthday, 60th birthday. So we went to the Nuggets game last night, had a nice dinner. So I've actually been here. I actually stayed in my old bedroom last night, the original workbench, baby, from about 25 years ago or something. I was hibernating in that thing. So it's a good start to the trip. Always good to be on with you guys on these days. I look forward to Thursdays.
Absolutely. A single bed workbench, if you will, if I'm not mistaken.
It was not in good shape either. It was an old bench.
No, they don't age well. They don't age well. The
might have still had the same blankets on it too. The blankets weren't in very good shape either. It was a little rough. I was disappointed a little bit. Yeah.
Did you sleep well? I mean, are you feeling?
I did sleep well because I had a lot of drinks, so I did. I did sleep pretty well once I got there, but it did the trick as far as that. Actually, I slept pretty good.
A little bit disappointed in our guy VIP.
I can't have the settings. I want to put the quotes up on the screen like I usually do. I wanted to click Corey Puller's thing, but I don't have any access. I'm on the road here. I can't.
I
wanted to put that up. I mean,
Butthole Jenkins really wants to know if you rubbed one out in the childhood bedroom, I'm sure.
Butthole wrote that too?
I'm just sure he's thinking it. That's all.
Butthole, do you want to come to the final on Saturday? Where does Butthole live? I want to invite Butthole officially to the NBA final.
Here's another one, Big T.
There we go, Butthole. You want to come Saturday to watch us win? Watch somebody from Run Pure win $1 million?
So little disappointed in our guy VIP. He obviously was not here from the beginning of the show. Says he needed some Sky picks, and there you go. So next time,
Butthose in Colorado Springs?
He is. Oh baby, Butthose in.
Butthole, are you actually from Colorado Springs? If so,
Butthole is ready for the final.
Butthole may get to meet his hero, and this is one where. You worry a little bit about the infatuation factor. Things could go a little bit sideways. So
I'll let him hold one end of the belt. We can both hold it up when we ship each end. Me and Butthole.
There's a mirror in your room too for you guys to have a nice night.
If he roots me into $1 million, I might proposition Butthole back to the palace.
All right. So on that note, we'll go ahead. Hey. Hit the like button.
Butthole is a watcher. Who could put that on the screen? Oh, that's funny there. That's a good one.
All right. Oh, Jesus. Hit the like button. Follow. Butthole, and Butthole's going to show up with a full sack too. Like that thing, it's gonna be like he's trying to put out a 3-alarm fire. JTHayes 15 is the code. Get 1 month. You don't get any months free, but you get 15% off your first month subscription. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 20,000, which, believe it or not, we're really close to. 4,500 is really close. We're closer to that than 0 followers. So let's go ahead and get there, and we'll go ahead and get into this. And Travis, I'll start with you. 6 games. We talked a little bit about this where we've got some chalk, obviously, that is pretty good in the Brooklyn game. Some of the lower price pieces. We'll get to that one towards the end of the show. But we'll start out here. Game with a high total. A team, really, two teams that are a little bit difficult to predict at times. We've got Houston at Indiana. Indiana favored by 9.5, 236.5 total. Kevin Porter is out. Aaron Nesmith is questionable for the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton is now 9,800 in a very good matchup. Jalen Green appears a little bit too cheap at 6,400. Alperen Sengun played 34 minutes last game, but he hasn't been playing more than 28. And these rotations have been really, really volatile for Steven Silas and the Rockets. What do you got here? Houston at Indiana.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be a pretty interesting game here. We have to obviously like it. Overall, this slate, just to kind of dive in, the main focal point is Day'Ron Sharpe, right? Like we had to pick like one guy that we need to like key in on is like the center position is just going to be keyed in on Day'Ron Sharpe. He's going to be clearly the best value on the entire slate. So definitely think he's going to be, someone that we're going to have to focus on. And because of that, that's going to leave these centers in this game absolutely unowned, right? Like no one's playing Sengun in a matchup against Indiana at 7.4K because so much ownership is being gravitated towards him. Miles Turner at 7.8K. He's not going to have any ownership in a pretty good matchup overall, right? So I do think that he is someone that you have to have some interest in. I think Tyrese Halliburton is an interesting spend-up option in the Houston matchup. We know Houston's bad against point guards. Look at Halliburton. 4 of his last 5 games, 56.75, 40.75, 52.75, 56.25, and 72.75. I mean, Tyrese has just been absolutely insane, and he gets that amazing matchup right now. I mean, absolutely amazing matchup. So I do think Tyrese Halliburton is a really interesting contrarian spend that I'm going to consider. He feels expensive at 9.8 too. If you look at this slate as a whole, I mean, Steph Curry is the most expensive option at 10.5. Then it's Julius Randle at 10K, Sabonis 9.9, and Halliburton at 9.8. Like Halliburton being the 4th highest guy on a 6-game slate is just kind of a little bit of a sticker shock price. So I think overall Halliburton is going to have lesser ownership because a lot of people are keying in on these guards that are in the 8K range. So like Halliburton a lot in tournaments, someone that I definitely want to consider. On the Houston side, Jalen Green is one of those guards that people are going to consider. Shooting guard, I think a lot of people are going to play Jalen Green or they're going to play Desmond Bane in that spot. He's only 6.4K, gets a good matchup, but he's a very scoring-dependent player. So if the shots aren't falling, that can be frustrating because his peripherals are not great. If you look at the game logs, that's a great way to kind of show it. So he's got to score a lot of points. Jalen Green is someone he's fine, but he's not like a priority for me. For me, I really like a Halliburton as like a contrarian spend, and I don't mind Jalen Green in tournaments, but not someone I'm prioritizing here on this slate. And this is not a game I'm super excited about. It's not one to load the boat on. I think there's better spots to go to, but there's some interesting plays here in this game.
All right, Big T. Sweet Travis mentioned a couple of these plays. Obviously, we're going to be holding some spots for the Brooklyn guys that we'll get to later. Thoughts on Halliburton, thoughts on Jalen Green, and thoughts on Sengun at 7,400. Again, minutes have been a roller coaster. This is a spot where we've targeted the opposing center against the Pacers pretty much all season long. Miles Turner at 7,800 seems way too expensive for me in this spot. And then any thoughts on the rest of these pieces, Indiana and Houston?
Yeah, I mean, for Sengun, it's just tough. With Houston, I keep talking about on all these shows, but these bad teams that don't care if they win, I get worried about the spend-ups in these spots. I know Sengun's price is coming down a little bit, but 7,400 still, I have a hard time. I have a hard time playing a guy like that. I just don't trust it. I'd rather play a guy like Jalen Green, who is going to be popular for sure, but only 6,400 against Indiana. That's where I want to go. But they got a lot of bodies. I worry about teams like this. I do, because it doesn't take much. And all of a sudden, Josh Christopher and Daishan Nix and these guys just start playing a bunch. They just got a lot of guys. So you got to be careful the rest of the year, without a doubt. And, yeah, so I like Jalen Green. Definitely Halliburton, too, like Mangone said. He's just been crushing. He's been crushing in some tough matchups even, too, at times. So you have to have some interest in Halliburton. But, man, these teams got a lot of guys. Both teams, that's the first thing that sticks out to me. I mean, you got 4, 6, over 10 guys from Indiana, over 10 guys from Houston, it looks like. So you got a lot of bodies on two bad teams. Yeah, Halliburton and Jalen Green are really all that sticks out to me here.
And the prices are up, too, on guys like Tari Eason and Kenyon Martin Jr., who people have been playing at lower prices because they've been getting 28, 30 minutes reliably. But now Eason, 5,600, Kenyon Martin Jr., 5,500. It just doesn't seem like a slate with the value of Brooklyn that you need to take that risk. And with the value in Brooklyn, you can get away from Jalen Green at 30% ownership pretty easily, even though I do think he's a fine play, as you guys have said. We'll move on here, guys. Go ahead, hit the like button. We have, I don't know how many watching, I'll have to check, but 207 likes right now. That's not going to be enough. We need, we'll give you the number here in a few minutes, but next game, 2 more teams uninterested in winning. Charlotte next to last in the Eastern Conference. Detroit dead last in the Eastern Conference. This game is in Detroit. Charlotte favored by 4, a 225 total for Charlotte. Cody Martin remains out. The Pistons are moving full bore on the tank, trying to get as close as they can to the bottom position. They have ruled out for the season Bojan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Stewart likely gone for the season as well. Alec Burks is going to miss this game. But Jalen Duren and JTHayes are back, and that complicates matters along with the rising prices for the rest of these guys. Hard for me to see a guy on the Pistons that I'm interested in. Charlotte, you've got Rozier, you've got Oubre, PJ Washington. Mark Williams may be my favorite guy at 6K, and I don't even know how much I like him because of that price here, Big T. We'll stick with you. What do you see Charlotte at Detroit?
Yeah, you got a 6-game slate with a bunch of overpriced guys, and you got a matchup with a high-paced team against the Pistons. So immediately it sticks out to me that these guys are really good plays. Rozier, Mark Williams, like you said. The price does feel heavy for Mark Williams, but, man, the spot. There's no better spot than against Detroit, especially with Charlotte, where you just have a good pace the whole game, too, on top of it. They do got a decent amount of bodies. I mean, even like Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, I think these guys are decent plays. I mean, again, you're going to play a few guys on this slate just looking through it that you might not love the price of, but, man, against Detroit, you have a crazy good ceiling. So where's, just out of curiosity, where is Charlotte in the standings?
They are next to last in the Eastern Conference, right in front of the Pistons.
So do they have reasons to lose, or are they like way ahead? So they're 5 games ahead, 5.5 games?
They're not. I mean, you got what, 16 games left, 17 games left, something like that. And they did just win a game in New York. So they did surprise the Knicks the other night. And, I could see them wanting to get back to losing here, which is a concern.
I don't think they can lose even if they want to lose in this game because Detroit is so bad. So I don't know. I kind of like Charlotte, honestly. Like you said, they just won a game. That was in New York too, right? When they won that night. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, that shows they're at least trying. And I just like these guys that play hard. Rozier, Oubre, Hayward, even Dennis Smith Jr. off the bench. Dennis Smith Jr. might be one of the best sneaky plays of the slate. I mean, 4,700. The best matchup in basketball is against Detroit. I don't think that many people will play him either because he doesn't start. So, I mean, you might get him like 3% owned against Detroit. And if this game blows out on top of it, you could even get some blowout run from him. So, I'm definitely high on Charlotte. I like – Gordon Hayward's looked pretty good lately too. So, I like these guys. I want a couple of these Charlotte guys on my team. And Detroit, I just can't do it. I'm looking. Bagley's up. Wiseman's up. Duran's back. Like, I don't want Detroit. Any chance I get, unless it's like 2-3 game slate, I just do not want to play these bad teams. I mean, I pulled the standings up. You got 3 teams that are clearly the worst. Spurs, Rockets, Pistons. We got what? The Spurs aren't on this slate, right? We got two of those teams on this slate. Anything I can do to avoid these teams, I want to do because there's 2 elite picks that everyone talks about in the draft. There's 3 shitty teams. They want as many chances as they can get. And I know the Spurs are going to lose because Popovich is smart. So will these other teams keep up with them? I think they will. So I'm definitely on, Mark K. Bagley. I can't pay that for Bagley. I mean, over 6K for Bagley on a Pistons team that wants to lose is just crazy to me.
With Duren back, Marvin Bagley may be the worst play on the slate. Travis, Dennis Smith Jr., 4,700. It does seem a little too cheap for the minutes that he's been playing, the productivity that he can have. As Tony said, one of the best matchups in basketball. And then if you play the blowout script and you say, okay, these starters aren't really going to get there because they're going to be up by 20. Although I will say this, the Pistons do play hard. The players aren't elite NBA talents, but they do play hard for Dwayne Casey, which is amazing. But you've got the backup center in Charlotte, who's proven to be pretty good. Nick Richards, 3,600 on DraftKings as well. What do you see here? Anything on Detroit? And what about Charlotte?
Yeah, I think overall, Detroit's a really tough spot. I think you stay away from them. Charlotte, I can understand playing some of them, right? Like, for one, let's start with this. Terry Rozier is 8-2. There's better guards to play, right? If I had to pick one of the expensive guards to not play that's gaining some ownership, it's Terry Rozier. I'm just not playing Terry Rozier. I can let you go and play him. I know it's Detroit, though. Good matchup. But I just think there's other spots that I prefer. So I'm doing my best to stay away from Terry Rozier for sure. I think Kelly Oubre is a better play than him, so I'd rather just go to him for cheaper. The minutes he's getting, the shot attempts, it's just so good. So I think that you can make a really good case for Kelly Oubre. I like Big T's point with Dennis Smith Jr. I think he's a solid play. The only issue is the guard spot is pretty deep today, right? So, like, for one, like Drew Holiday, Desmond Bain, they're two guys that are gaining a lot of ownership. Like, you are just not going to have, like, Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be not really owned. And it is a revenge game if you care about that. He played there, not too long ago. I believe 2020 was the time he was there. So Dennis Smith Jr., not the worst idea. And he can get that blowout run like we kind of talked about. So, I think overall, I'm not dying to get to these Charlotte guys. And one thing to call out with some of these teams tanking these days, and this is how I kind of handled OKC last night. I'm not playing Josh Giddey. You know why? Dude costs $7K and above. It's just too expensive, I think, to take those chances on. Now, the cheaper options, they become more enticing because they don't have to do as much to get there. And if the game blows out, well, then there's a chance that those cheaper guys are likely in the game more. So I do think that you can make a case for Dennis Smith Jr. more because of that. Obviously, Detroit is a good matchup. Not dying to play Gordon Hayward. If I had to pick any of these guys that actually gets real run, it's Kelly Oubre on that Charlotte side. But I prefer Dennis Smith Jr. to a Kelly Oubre a little bit more. And then Detroit, it just feels like a pretty easy spot to stay away from them. They just feel like they got a little bit healthier. Their prices have been raised up, and there's other spots that are just too good on this slate that we can't pass on.
Yeah, I think that sums it up here. You got two teams. I mean, this is also a potential letdown spot here for Charlotte. Big win, maybe the win of their second half of their season in New York last game out. So, I don't have a lot of interest here. We'll move on. Utah at Orlando.
You guys are both hating my Charlotte team. You're hurting my feelings here.
I mean, I talked up Dennis Smith Jr. and Kelly Oubre, but that's it. Like, I don't think there's that much else.
It wasn't a passionate response, though. It was more of a just courtesy to not make me feel bad type.
No, I called out how it makes sense. Like, it's fine. It's just that
I could tell by the tone of your voice, Travis, you were not into it.
Were you looking me in the eyes?
Like when you got propositioned, you were not having it.
You looked in my eyes and you could tell.
I looked into your eyes and I did not see it. I did not see interest.
I'll tell you this. He's not someone that when I've ran stuff, I'm getting a lot of. But when I look at the actual like projection and kind of value, and I think of flipping the build, I mean, it's like the thread, right? Everyone's building their lineups with Drew Holiday, Desmond Bain, and Jalen Green, and Tyus Jones. And like, I don't think it's a crazy idea to do that. And it does fit the bill with what I've talked about a little bit is I think that if you get a really big score at like the forward position for raw points, I think it's way more valuable than it is at the guard spot, especially seeing how JSU's team was the other day when he had Damian Lillard at 72 points at the guard spot, right? And it didn't even matter. And that's because of how much better guards are fantasy-wise than forwards, where if you do spend down for a guard today, that requires you to spend up for a forward. And not a lot of people are spending up for forwards today. So if you did a build that went Julius Randle and like a Jaren Jackson, then that would require you to spend down at the guard a little bit more, where it could make some sense.
These are the slates where I think it's terrible to play chalk, for the record. Like, we can get to it as we go through the game.
Well, I think you wanna play some of it, but I think
some of the cheaper guys, but like some of them, we'll get to it. I'll talk to it as we go through. But
yeah, I want to hear your thought on how to handle it, because I do think it's a good slate to eat the good chalk and then flip some of the builds, right? I think some of these expensive guys are just chalk because of the other plays and not really because they're good plays.
Yeah, exactly.
And with that, we'll move on from Detroit and Charlotte and over to the next game, which is Utah at Orlando. Orlando favored by 3.5, 234.5 over under in this game. Wendell Carter Jr. remains out. Gary Harris is going to be back in. The Admiral Schofield is going to be in as well. For the Utah Jazz, Colin Sexton remains out. Jordan Clarkson was just ruled out. Walker Kessler, however, a very expensive Walker Kessler, will make his return. Travis, will stay with you. Utah at Orlando. Still two teams with a lot of bodies. Chris Dunn was getting some ownership. Actually had a nice game the other night, but now his price has gone way, way up. believe it's 5,800 on DraftKings. Anything here in Utah or Orlando?
Yeah, I'll admit I've been on the Chris Dunn train, and it's treated me pretty well actually. But I don't know if I'm going to get the Chris Dunn really today. And I think you can make a case for Lauri Markkanen just because I think the spend up forward build is intriguing. I don't think he's going to gain a lot of ownership. So overall, I don't mind kind of taking that route. I'll call out on FanDuel. Mo Wagner will definitely be a play that you should consider over there a little bit more. I just think the way the slate is structured, he's a really good value over there. I'm on the cash chart today, so I got him as a lock on the cash chart right now. Obviously, things could change and adjust, but I think he is just an extreme value over there on FanDuel. Overall, though, I think some of these Magic are okay because the matchup's good, right? I mean, one case you can make, again, if you're going for that flip the build kind of script and a point guard that no one will play on this slate, and it's uncomfortable to kind of just sit there and click that name because we know what his downside can be, but we know what his upside is. It's Markelle Fultz, right? What a great matchup for Markelle Fultz here. He's 6.4K, but this is a guy that has the ability to get you 40 to 50 DK points, and he gets to go up against the Jazz. I mean, it's probably, I haven't looked at the flow chart yet. I should pull it up. I assume it's going to be someone that's as a flow chart play because Jazz and point guards just absolutely have printed all year. So I think Markelle Fultz is going to be someone that we should be considering here on this slate. So like him in this spot a little bit in tournaments. Banchero is one of those guys I talked about. He can be very frustrating because he is very up and down. And for his price tag is 7.9, it just feels like kind of Jimmy Butler, where you only want to play him when he's low owned. I think he'll be lower today, but I think there's other forwards I'd rather play. So I'm going to pass on him, like I mentioned last slate, just not dying to get there. If I played a forward from the Magic, it'd probably be Franz Wagner. One case you can make is Franz Wagner is kind of like the point guard there. So it is kind of like the point guard-esque role against Utah. So I do think Franz Wagner is in the conversation as a pretty interesting option. And Mo Wagner is fine on DK, but I think there's better plays that I'd rather go to. So overall, if I had to rank the plays in this game, I'd probably say Markelle Fultz is like a really interesting tournament play, not someone I'm prioritizing. I think Lauri Markkanen, really good spend up forward, but I think there's some other spend up forwards I'm preferring. If he's like a last guy in, spend up forward to get me different, I don't mind it, but not a game I'm prioritizing here again. I mean, there's a couple games that we'll get to here that are going to be pretty good. And then Franz Wagner is not a bad last guy into. Again, this is kind of like a filler game where there's some decent pieces, but you're not prioritizing plays from this game.
Let me stick with you there because you mentioned Markelle Fultz, and we haven't been playing a ton of Orlando Magic here. You've got Fultz, you've got Gary Harris, you've got Cole Anthony, you've got Jalen Suggs. What's the ceiling for Markelle Fultz in this environment at 29 to 32 minutes?
I do think it's 40 to 50 just because he's an elite producer and the matchup's amazing. Like, I think it's there, but you have to understand the risk that you're taking with it. And on a slate where you have free squares that it feels like are really good plays, one, this is going to flip the build, right? Markelle Fultz will not be owned. And this could be a guy that, let's say Drew Holiday gets you, 50, Desmond Bane gets you like 36. What happens when Markelle Fultz gets you 40? You'd much rather have that score, and it'll give you a different construction than the field. So I just wouldn't completely overlook him. Again, he's not this guy I think you should prioritize in your lineups, but if you're playing MME, I would want to be overweight on him. And it doesn't take much to get overweight on him here in this spot. And when I play like the single entry 3-max stuff, I either look to flip the build or I look to be very intentional about getting a low owned guy or two in my lineups. And I try to identify a couple of them and see if I can find teams that I like with it. And if I can find a team that spends up at forward for maybe some guys that I like that are low owned and gets me a low owned Markelle Fultz, I'm not going to pass on it. It's just the upside is there. If you look at the game logs, they're up and down performances, and I just don't think you can ignore him.
All right, fair enough. And again, 6,400 DraftKings, 6X on this slate, maybe what you need out of some of those guys. Big T, we've got Utah, we've got Orlando. There's some Lauri Markkanen love, 9,600. He did get 51 points their last game out against Dallas at that price, but still seems a little bit of a stretch even on this slate. What are your thoughts, Utah and Orlando?
Yeah, the Utah side. So Markkanen, 9,600. What is he on FanDuel? Is he still cheaper? Way cheaper?
He was 8.6 recently. He's got to be cheap. I'll try and pull it up quick. Let's see.
I can pull it up too.
Lauri Markkanen is 9.2. He's the fourth highest owned play on the slate. Or the highest owned play. Sorry. He's the fourth highest price play on the slate. My bad.
Yeah, I just struggle. I mean, 9,600 for Markkanen. I know even coming into the show, you guys were telling me like this is how the slate is. Guys are overpriced. You got to pick spots, but I just can't. I can't do it with Markkanen. I could take a stab at it. 9,600 for Markkanen is just too much for me. I just can't do it. THT 6,500, Kessler 69. Yeah, I don't see much from Utah. I mean,
But Tony, the problem you run into is the value at forwards. Most slates is not good, and then the forward if those guards, like let's say Dame goes for 60, but you have all these value guards that go for 40 or 50, the raw points at forward end up mattering sometimes. So like that's the one thing I've noticed. It seems like on slates, you'll look at winning lineups, you'll be like, oh, Lauri Markkanen was on the winner and he got like 48 or 50, and like that's not incredible. He had a flame on his lineup, just got there. But because of how good the guards typically are, those raw points at forwards sometimes do matter. I'll at least call that out.
Yeah, I mean, just going back and taking the scope out a little bit and looking at the whole slate, I mean, you're right as far as that. We got good values in other positions, and we got no one up top. I mean, Julius Randle and Markkanen are the only two spend ups. So depending on roster construction, I might just come off some of the values then in that way, like come off some of the go more mid-range where maybe you play more of the Mark Williams type guys that seem overpriced, but when they all get you 35 at 6K, you're in pretty good shape. I just don't. I mean, even Randall, I do like Randall more. We're not to that game yet, but I would definitely play Randall over Markkanen. So that's one. I don't know. I just can't do it. Again, like Mangone said, though, once it comes and I actually build the lineups, maybe I land on them. If I do, though, the one thing I can promise is I'll project them for like 47, 46, 45. Under project him. I don't even know what his projection is because I'm on my friggin' laptop. But if I would under project him. I've talked about this a bunch in the past. If I don't like a guy, which I don't, I'll just under project him. And if he still hits my builds, then I'll play him. Like if I know I only need 43 from Markkanen, I feel very good about it. If I think I need 54 from him, I don't feel very good about it. So
yeah, Tony, slate context, 6-game slate. Here's the guys priced above 9K. De'Aaron Fox, 9.4. Lauri Markkanen, 9.6. Halliburton, 9.8. Sabonis, 9.9, which again, we have Fox and Sabonis on the same team, so it's tough for both to get there. Randall, 10K, and we need Brunson news. We don't know. And then Curry, 10.5, and we know how Curry can be. It's boom or bust, and he probably won't be owned. Point being is there are no studs on this slate where that balance build can certainly come into play. A lot of people are going to play.
Sure, like, I shouldn't say it's a free show, but I always like the people. I mean, Halliburton's like a total lock to me.
I love Halliburton here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you don't play Halliburton. So
yeah, he'll be on at least
one spend right there. So, I mean, the dude is absolutely crushed, and now he gets Houston. So that's one spend. So we really only need one more tops. I don't know. Point being, I don't like Utah. I want to stay away from them if I can help it, which I probably can help it. And then the Orlando side, I do like the Markelle Fultz call. My only worry is Cole Anthony and Suggs are healthy right now. But like Mangone said, these are the plays on these 6-game slates that don't look good. They're not going to – and this is always where the cash players – and this is why I respect how Mangone's tried to learn the tournament streets. For the longest time talking to these cash guys, they would just never come off the optimal stuff, and they'd be like, well, how can you play Markelle Fultz over whoever, Drew Holiday or these guys, these good plays? And I would be like, well, because of ownership. One's 45%, one's 6%. When your guy crushes, you lap the field. It's that simple. And you know you're taking the worst of it. When you run the optimizer, you're giving up 10 points or 8 points of projection, whatever it is, 8, 10, 6. Doesn't matter, but your ownership is so much lower that when Drew Holiday busts and Markelle Fultz gets 50, you got a chance to win it all. And that's our goal. That's our goal when we enter these slates is to win all the money. I like the Fultz call. I don't even totally, for the same reasons he gave for Fultz, I don't totally hate Cole Anthony and Suggs too at cheaper prices. I think the matchup is really good. Cole Anthony's been pretty good. A couple 40 burgers lately. I think you can go to these Magic guards against Utah. So I think Mangone's onto something. Obviously, I would not play them together under any circumstances really on this slate. But one of them, I could definitely see it, and they're all super low owned. And the rest of Orlando, I think, is in play, but more is last in. Like if my last thing lands on 7,900 and I got to play Paulo, I'm okay with that. I don't love him, but I'm okay if I land on him against Utah. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of these Orlando guys. Franz Wagner, I don't want to play him unless I have to. I mean, I'm not playing any of the cheaper scrub type guys. Goga got like 20 minutes. These bad teams, you just got to worry about stuff. So,
well, Tony, if you don't like Franz Wagner, right, he's a forward that's going to get some ownership. And the reason why is if everyone pays down for Day'Ron Sharpe, he's going to be 75+% owned or something egregious. Well, now I have money to spend. So then people spend up at guard. And then they're not spending all the way up at forward. They're spending in the mid-tier, or they're going down low to Dorian Finney-Smith. So when you do spend down for Dennis Smith Jr., or you spend down for Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz, that naturally forces you to have a different build than the field. It's like in college basketball yesterday, I had more of a balanced build, and I had a pretty good team, and it didn't get there. The reason it didn't get there is the value play did well, and also the really good stud did well. But if one of them would have failed, I would have had a chance to take down one of those mania seats, and it would have been great. But because I had a different build, let's say those guards that you play are really good, but Dorian Finney-Smith bust. Well, it just kills every single team. So it's not just one out for your teams too then it's two outs if you give a completely different construction than the field. And that's why you would maybe spend down for a guard like we've kind of talked a little bit about on this show.
All right, that was Utah at Orlando, 266 likes, 586 watching. Mark K, we see you. You haven't hit the like button yet. Do it right now, please. Big T, how many likes do we need? 266 right now, 586 watching. You're doing this from the road. Travis is doing it from where he's under house arrest. I'm at home this Thursday. How many likes do we need for the plays of the day? Because today, it's kind of a nasty slate. I think the plays of the day are important.
Yeah, I think we need what were we at, 266?
74 right now. So
yeah, I think we can get to 400. We got to be able to get to 400.
I agree. That means 186 of you are hurtful, selfish bastards, but we still get to 400 if we get there. So go ahead, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and remember, if you're not a member,
how many do we need to get you to take your shirt off? I'm at 600. How many is it for you?
Yeah. I 750. 750. Go ahead. I mean, if we get to 6, I mean, 6 people, you get something. 400 plays of the day.
How many likes are we at? We're at 306, and then we're getting closer to the 600 for Big T shirt off. I mean, we're halfway there. I mean, 595 of you watching. How can all of you not hit the like to get Big T shirt off?
I don't blame him for not wanting to see it. That's how you don't get the love.
Is Butthole on all of his accounts? Like he's on his iPad?
Butthole said he's going to make some calls. So he's going to make some calls. He's going to do what it takes to get us to 600. You get to 750. You get to 850. And Travis will tell us about his awkward encounter this afternoon. So there you go. You got four different incentive points there. So go ahead, hit that like button. Remember, if you're not a member, JTHayes 15 gets you 15% off your first month's payment. And I don't know, if you sign up by the end of the show, I'll give you 1 week free. So if there's a sign up by the end of the show using code JTHayes 15, you'll get 1 week free. We're moving on. This game is interesting for a lot of reasons other than the game that's going to be played on the court, although I think that's interesting too. Golden State going into Memphis. Golden State.
I thought you were talking about Mangone and Snyder there when you were leading into it.
I mean, Mangone and Snyder is, I mean, I don't know what to expect from my guy Snyder, right? He's been in the gym. He's on steroids. I'm worried about having to get in and break up some altercations. I might have to do a dive on Mangone to protect him. I mean, we know how the the people on steroids can get a little bit amped up. So, and my guy Snyder is one of the most mild-mannered people in the world. Actually, I absolutely love him. But the introduction of those performance-enhancing drugs, it makes me worry about temperament. So, definitely worried about matchup. I'm worried about this matchup too. And I'm worried about this matchup because I think in my mind, we're going to get sucked in and think, oh, this is going to be a great game. Golden State's been terrible on the road. They're favored by 2.5. Understanding Ja Morant's out, Brandon Clark done for the season, 235.5 total. And Big T, I'll start with you because you tweeted RIP Dylan Brooks after Draymond did his thing. And of course, Draymond, it's pretty rich irony for Draymond to be calling any other NBA player an idiot. I mean, the guy leads the league in sacks. He kicks people in the playoffs. He throat punched one of his teammates. And he's wondering if the Memphis teammates like Dylan Brooks, are you holding a mirror up to your face, Draymond Green? And he does this.
This is offensive, JT.
Does this. I know. We're gonna. But this is
no way you like Dylan.
Let me finish.
Okay.
This is not Kendrick Perkins and JJ Redick. So he goes and does this the day before. What a true badass, right? Ja Morant's out. Clark is out for the season. What a tough guy. These guys have sucked on the road. Nothing like giving Memphis a little bit of motivation to come out and humble this very overblown NBA team. Now they're favored by 2.5 on the road. Draymond's giving them all the motivation in the world. I could see this a situation where a lot of people like our guy Bobby is on Steph Curry. I could see him being a great play because I could see Clay and Dre and Brooks all getting into a melee and getting ejected in this one because that's the mindset of the players in this game. What do you see here in this one? And tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more with everything you just said. I love Draymond, and I've seen all this shit on Twitter. I get so tired of the Draymond slander. They would not have probably any of the titles without Draymond. Would Draymond be great without them? Probably not as well.
It's not about the titles for me. The titles don't, in my mind, the titles don't give you the ability to just be an idiot. I mean, if you're going to tell me that you like the fact that he throat punched the teammate in training camp, a guy who has been so important to this team and was again this year, you're telling me you love it?
I don't love, obviously, punching your teammate in the but I do love that he leads them in the energy department. He makes all the loose balls, all that. I'm a Draymond guy, and I couldn't hate Brooks more because he hasn't done anything. If Draymond had never won anything, I'd be saying the same thing about him. Like, the dude has won a shit ton, and that's why I love the quote he gave to Brooks. He named off all his stuff. Defensive Player of the Year, Olympic champion, 4-time All-Star, like all the credentials. Brooks has not done that shit.
But this is my point. Isn't about Brooks or who has the right to say. It's, he goes ahead and puts this video out. There is a side, an irony here, where he's behaved just like Dylan Brooks has. Yes, he has the better resume, but now he does.
He's just like a better player. Like Brooks is just a moron.
Right. There's no question about it. I don't think there's any question about that. But go on.
And Tyler in the chat, I don't know which side he thinks is wrong, but I think Golden State pounds Memphis. Memphis sucks. I didn't like them before the whole Ja thing. Now, like you said, they got guys out.
Yep.
Ja suspended probably for the season. Who knows what's going on with that? This team is This team's in shambles, and now they're facing a team that just chirped. If there's anything I know about chirping, you're going to show up. When Mangone talks shit to Snyder, he's going to show up on the slab ready to go because he's got to back it up. When Draymond talked shit yesterday, he's a smart dude. He knows they're coming to town today. Like you said, they're going to be ready to play tonight. They're Clay, Curry, Draymond, great plays to me. I think they show up big time tonight. And I think they just show Memphis, listen, you don't have Ja, but you guys suck. You're not the same. You're not in the same class as us. Even last year in the playoffs, I made a bunch off that series in Showdown. Some of the members probably remember. I think I shipped literally 4 of the 6 games. I think they went 6. Because they're just easy to predict. Memphis is all bark, no bite. They think they're so much better than they are. And Golden State's obviously a real team. I mean, if you talk shit to Golden State, they're going to show up and show you what it's all about. So I love the Golden State tonight. Curry, Draymond especially, 6,300. He's gonna own this team. Clay, I don't like Clay as much, but Clay's another one of these guys we've talked about all show where projections-wise, not a good play at all. But big-time game versus Memphis, we've seen him hit 10 threes how many times? It could be Clay that breaks this slate, no doubt about it. So I wouldn't play him with Curry. I would definitely set a rule or just not put them together. But if you don't, I want one of them. Put it that way. I want one of them with Draymond, and then we can look at the Memphis side, who I just don't see it with Desmond Bane. He's going to be high owned. So let me pull it up here. Oh, it's harder when I'm on my laptop, but let me do it. Okay, Desmond Bane, 8K.
Bane, 67 highest. Very expensive Memphis.
Bane, though, is the one I'm really picking at, though, because, 35 minutes, 3 for 14 against the Lakers, 21 fantasy points, 24 against Denver, only 54 against a terrible Houston team. Clippers, he got 47, but that's okay. I just think they show up to try to slow this dude down. The guy I like, though, is Tyus. I know his price looks high, but give me all the Tyus over Bane. I love him. I actually think Xavier Tillman's price looks high too. So he's another guy that falls into this bucket where it looks high. I put him in the exact same range as Mark Williams. Mark Williams, 6K. Xavier Tillman, 5,900. They might be the two best plays of the slate tournament-wise. I think they both have ceilings. And the good part is, like Travis said, if you play these 6K guys, you don't need the same upside you've needed on other slates. Like, if you get like 38 or something from these guys, you're huge. So, yeah, that's why I like this game, though. So we got all these bad teams we talked about. Now you got two teams that consider themselves contenders. They want to win this game after the chirping. So I like that. I definitely want a good amount of exposure here.
And you've got no concern about tempers boiling over.
I mean, I just think Golden State's seasoned. They're not going to – I think they know exactly what they're doing.
All right.
I'm not worried about it.
We'll move on to you, Travis. Thoughts here, Golden State, Memphis. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Brooks is an absolute beta and a clown, and Draymond Green actually has heart. Like, Draymond Green is the guy that you want on your team, JTHayes. When Big T pops on the slab, listen, he's not counting on me to for sure hit the game-winning shot. He knows he's going to hit the game-winning shot, but he's going to have me out there showing some heart and making sure I hustle. And Draymond does that.
I'm not taking the side of Dylan Brooks.
You were taking Brooks.
Yeah,
you
were taking Dylan Brooks.
No, I was not. I was not. What I was saying was what Draymond does in this video is he's guilty of some of the same things, number one, and then to put this out the day before they're going into Memphis, and Memphis is missing Ja, they're missing Clark. Like,
he would have said the same thing if Ja was in, though. That part doesn't matter.
Maybe.
They were chirping them all playoffs last year. They didn't have anything to do with Ja being out.
Anyway, go on.
The point being, anyway, the most important part is if Dylan Brooks had 4 titles, 4 All-Stars, 2 Olympic gold, all the things Draymond said, people wouldn't talk about him like this. They would talk about him the same way as Draymond. You got to do something, though. The dude couldn't even win in college. He was overrated at Oregon. They were one of the best teams all year, and the dude chirped, and he got freaking owned, I think, by Buddy Hield or somebody owned his ass.
It's Tyler. Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
Draymond, now we're talking.
There we go.
Draymond better. Draymond's not scared of much, but if he sees Ja coming strapped up, Draymond might be a little nervous then.
Yeah, Ja's people are in there. Watch out. All right, Travis. The game, though, Memphis, very priced up across the board. 8K for Bane. We know he's going to be popular. 67 on DraftKings for Tyus. The price for Jaren Jackson Jr. is very high. Price for Tillman, a little bit higher. Thoughts here on this game?
Yeah, I just think this is obviously a pretty good game. We know what Draymond's upside can be. We talked about it a little bit, how the forward position, it's not a great position for sure. And I think Draymond's a pretty good pivot. I like his upside. So I'm in on Draymond Green at 6.3K. Think he's going to be a really good play. I'm with Bobby, too, on the take on Steph Curry. I think a pretty good spot for him, 10.5K. Making train stuff to spend on. I'd prefer to go to Halliburton. There's other guys I do prefer, but I understand the argument to play Curry. Like, it's totally valid. But I like the Draymond if you want to get some exposure that way. That's kind of the way that I think I'll go. It'll either be through Draymond or it'll be through someone like Curry. The Memphis side, pretty good spot for these guys. Obviously have to like it for Bane. I think he's going to be a pretty good play, but you can make the argument Bane and Jaren Jackson are very similar plays, right? They're just at different positions. And naturally, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to probably be the third of the ownership of Bane, where, again, I talked about this. You can literally just flip the build by saying, instead of playing Desmond Bane, go play Jaren Jackson for a third of the ownership. We know what his stock upside is. We also understand that he could go out and have a pretty big game. So I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. in tournaments might be a better play than Bane. I obviously like both. I think Bane's a really good play and someone you should look to go to. But if we had to talk about Bane versus Drew Holiday, who's a better guard? I think Drew Holiday is the better guard on this slate than Desmond Bane. The one argument you can make is Desmond Bane is shooting guard eligible. That is one thing that he at least has going for him here in this spot. Dylan Brooks is a full fade for me. That loser will not be on my team, so I'll be hitting the X on him before I even start. And then Tillman's okay, but I think he's a little pricey where I'd rather go to some other guys. Kind of agree with Big T on that. I just don't need to get to Xavier Tillman, so I'll kind of pass on that. But this should be a pretty fun and competitive game, and obviously it's a good one. We have some other games that we're going to talk about that are coming up here that are good with values, but this is a game, again, to get some pieces of. I don't think it's bad at all.
All right, speaking of other games, 34 likes to get the plays of the day, 234 likes to get Big T shirt off. So those are the goalposts here, and we'll move on.
Where are we at?
368.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. All right.
Once we creep to like 450, then I think you'll see a tidal wave start to come through.
I haven't clicked the like yet. I got to click the like myself.
Would you do it if you were the 600th like?
Yeah, definitely for the people.
For the people.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's $5.99, I'm clicking it because on my laptop I got to actually go into YouTube to click it. I'm only on the StreamYard here.
Right. Exactly.
Should I wait till $5.99 to click it and then do a windmill with my shirt off?
I think you should, because the people don't deserve the head start. They were slow to get started, and we'll see. And honestly, they haven't put any.
Got a B cup, Riley. I'll be honest. The moves are getting bigger as I get fatter. I'll be honest. I don't know if they're a B, but they might be. Who knows?
I mean, a B
Probably
isn't
a B cup.
I was gonna say B isn't a super big size. So
they're decent sized moves, though. I'll be honest. They're decent moves.
All right. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're moving on up to 20,000. And remember, if you're not already a member, those of you, all 586 of you who are watching, so some of you had to go to your secondary account to hit the like button to get up to Big T's number. Go ahead, use code JTHayes 15% off your first month's payment. And if one of you signs up during the show, I'll give you a free week. All right. That's Golden State and Memphis. The next game, a lot of interest in this game because there are a lot of injuries, and it's still a pretty high total. Brooklyn heading into Milwaukee. Milwaukee favored by 9.5. Implied is 231.5. And for Brooklyn, Nick Claxton is out. Spencer Dinwiddie is out. Cam Johnson is out. Royce O'Neal, who had the game of his life last game, he's out. Ben Simmons remains out. Giannis for Milwaukee is going to be out. Goran Dragic is there, but he's out. Wesley Matthews is out. Jrue Holiday is back. And Jay Crowder, a new addition, is going to be in as well. Travis, we'll stay with you. Brooklyn, Milwaukee. Someone was asking earlier, why wouldn't Nerlens Noel start? Noel just signed there a few days ago. I think most of us expect Day'Ron Sharpe to start. But go ahead, your thoughts on Brooklyn, on why Day'Ron Sharpe is potentially starting, and what you see here in this game.
Before he even talks, I think Noel might start too. I'll just say that.
You what?
I think Noel might start personally too.
Or do you really?
To be fair, there was a quote like right when the Noel signing happened, and they were like, Noel is going to get run here. And then it was like, why? But like, it's true. He got 18 minutes last game. So
I don't think it matters though to let Travis can talk more of it too. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I don't think it necessarily, it might get his ownership lower where it helps in a way.
You'd also, what would happen is, I mean, Nerlens Noel is 3.3 and Sharpe is 3K, right? So like, and you're going to already have this backloaded a bit where you're going to be able to make changes. So it's not a huge deal. It's only $300. You'll be able to figure it out. So I'm not really that concerned by it. It is definitely more of a slate where I'm not saying it's a full backload, but like if you look, at 6 o'clock, you'll have enough of that news ahead of time. That's 6 our time. So it's slate locks at 7 Eastern. This game's at 8. So you'll start to have some news kind of filing in. So I'm not that worried about it. So, but great game to target. We're obviously going to like these Nets options. One thing we should talk about is, Mikal Bridges. Are we willing to pay that price tag on him? He is 8.5K at the shooting guard position. You can play Mikal Bridges or you can play Desmond Bane. Also, if I count the bodies, we got Day'Ron Sharpe, Dorian Finney-Smith, Drew Smith has a projection I see. Not a huge one, but he's a body, right? Edmund Sumner, Joe Harris, Mikal Bridges, Nerlens Noel, Patrick Mills, Seth Curry, and Yuta Watanabe. So they technically have 10 bodies. These guys are going to play. The question is Dorian Finney-Smith. What do you do with that chalk, right? He's 4.2K. A lot of people are going to play him because he's just an easy plug and play, feels too cheap. But you can make a case that, hey, Dorian Finney-Smith has never been an elite producer. I think he's fine. But again, someone to think about is, do you want to eat that ownership? Day'Ron Sharpe is clearly going to be the chalk of the slate. I'm just going to eat that chalk, think he's a good play. I do get worried about a guy like Joe Harris. Yes, the matchup is good against Milwaukee. You could make the case that three-point shooters are good in that spot, but the minutes are always a little concerning with someone like Joe Harris, where I'd rather go to Seth Curry instead. I know Seth Curry has a lot more ownership, but that's the case to be made for him. Starting lineups are going to be very important, though, for this team. And someone like Mikal Bridges, I think he's a good play, but if this game gets ugly, which I certainly think it could, Mikal Bridges is the first guy off the court. So think about that. He does have to do a lot to pay off that price tag at 8.5K. So again, it's a really good game, but starting lineups do matter. Let's go to the Milwaukee side. Like I said before, if it's Desmond Bane or Drew Holiday at the guard position, give me Drew Holiday over him. Chris Middleton at 7.2. I definitely want to get Big T's take on him. He finally eclipsed the 31-minute mark. I think he's a very good play here in this spot. I also want to know what his thoughts are on the Bobby Portis situation at 6.6K. Struggled the other night. He's projecting okay. Like he's getting some ownership, but I think he's a really good play. And he played over 30 minutes the last game. And if he smashed that game, I think a lot of people would play him. And I think projections would over adjust on him and have him even higher, but they don't. So I think Bobby Portis, I think if I had to rank these guys, Middleton mainly because small forward's not great. I'd probably put him number 1. Then it'd be Drew Holiday number 2, and then Bobby Portis number 3 on this side. And then don't sleep on Brook Lopez 2 at 4. I know if you're doing that balance build, it feels uncomfortable at 6'8", but we know his upside is 40 to 50, and there are not these amazing studs on this slate. So that's how I'd rank the Milwaukee side. If I had to rank the Brooklyn side, I know people, let's see. I'd probably rank him as Day'Ron Sharpe number 1. I'd go maybe Curry number 2, and then I'd go Dorian Finney-Smith. I'd probably put him at number 3 if I ranked him, but it's really keying in on Day'Ron Sharpe the most. I think he's the main guy that I feel most comfortable with, and it could be Nerlens Noel. If he's the starter, then I'm just shifting it to whoever the starter is.
Looks like Big T has a sense of disagreement with this, and so Big T, Milwaukee, Brooklyn.
I mean, again, I'll give the clarification. Everyone pretty much knows how I play by now, but I just don't get some of these. Like, I know guys are out, but it's just how I play NBA. It's why I have variance and ship sometimes, finish last sometimes. I just do not understand, like, projections like Seth Curry. Like, Seth Curry's done nothing all season. No reason whatsoever for him to be this popular. And he's going to be 60% owned just because guys are out, and I just don't see it. They have guys like Sumner and Cam Thomas and these guys that can actually play. I just don't see it even remotely with Seth Curry. And honestly, Day'Ron Sharpe is a good play, but like only because he's 3K. Like, I don't think the projection's good. I would definitely take the under on his projection. I like Nerlens more, but like Mangone said, you can just wait and see who's just put. I would start with Nerlens in though, just because he's 300 more. If Sharpe starts, just pivot over to him. It's super easy. 300 extra doesn't really change all that much. But I, like Mangone said, I would probably just play the starter. You never know too. When it gets down to it, people might not be able to pivot all of the ownership over that way. So could be an edge there. But I just don't. I actually like the guys that Mangone doesn't like. The funny part. I like Bridges a ton. I like him more than Bane. He just keeps crushing. And again, you can't be all game log watching, but every single game he's in the 40s and plays a ton of minutes. Yeah, if it's a blowout, then he's going to be first off the court, but that's just how tournaments work. If I lose, I lose. I want it to stay close. So I actually like Bridges the most. Obviously, Noel or Sharpe right in there, too, at 3K. I would like them. But Cam Thomas is the guy I like way more than – I know they're not the same price, Cam and Seth, but I like Cam Thomas way more than Dorian Finney-Smith or Seth Curry or Joe Harris.
Do you have a
We've seen
projection on him, Tony? I think my sheet's messed up. Like, I think it's the name Cam.
It's around 28. Around 28.
Thomas is projected to, either start, but at least have big minutes. So
I kind of hope he doesn't start, just because I think he's a great play. They just don't. I'm trying to look at the scoring. Like, where's the scoring coming from? Cam Thomas, DFS isn't scoring. Cam Thomas, Bridges. I mean, that's where the points are coming for me. So
I still think I think there's the range of outcomes on him is wider than you guys. Like, I literally think he could still DNP. Like
Cam Thomas?
I think he could. I'm not saying he will, but like they haven't been playing him.
Yeah, but they've had all the guys in. So for the same reason Seth Curry looks like a good play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just making sure my sheet's not like broken, but it's.
What does it say?
It's don't have. It could be the issue with the name Cameron. Sometimes
he's got a big projection.
I'm gonna double check some stuff just to make sure.
Who was that guy you had the one day? You got to
Ty Washington.
Yeah, you got to hit the Ty button to refresh
to be
that.
fair, Ty started popping off after.
Yeah, your sheet was ahead of the game for sure. But to flip over to the Milwaukee side again, these are why I like these slates, because I just don't like the same stuff that's the chalk. I don't like Drew Holiday or Middleton. So 8,100 for Drew. I just don't. He pops hard in the projections, but I just don't see it. I don't think he plays aggressive in all of these spots. I've always said that. I'd rather play Portis. I know Travis talked about it. I like Portis the most. 6,600 in that same price range, going against Brooklyn, who has no bigs. Whereas like Milwaukee, Bridges can clamp up Middleton a little bit. Some of those other guys, Drew just doesn't play aggressive all the time. So I know they're good plays. Again, this is just where tournaments come in, and I know how it works. Like, they're really good projected plays. Everyone's going to play them. They're good plays on paper. I just don't like them as much as other people do. And this is kind of why I like playing one team at times in NBA, and why I've had a lot of success just playing one team, build my best team and go with it, because it's easier to fade guys like that when you're playing one. If you're playing 150, it's tough to just full fade Drew and Middleton. Like, it's really hard, because if they get 50, you're just dead because of all the ownership. But I don't know. I feel good about this game, which I like, because the guys I like, I think, are lower owned than all the chalk guys. So that's a good thing. The Crowder, Christopher Wall says, what about Crowder? Definitely not Crowder right now. I mean, we got to see him on the court for a minute. Is he 3K?
Let me stop you there with Crowder. Not right now. First of all, last game against Orlando, Giannis was out. He cut into Portis's minutes. He was the backup for both Portis and Brook Lopez. 23 minutes in that
23. Okay.
23 minutes in that game. 4,200. He's going to get the backup, whether it's Nerlens Noel or it's Day'Ron Sharpe. He's going to get Yuta Watanabe. He's going to get basically G League players to play against on a slate where small forward is not very good.
Yeah, I didn't realize he played that much, so I stand corrected a little bit. I still don't love him, but knowing he played 23 last game, I could be talked into it.
And keep in mind, this is a guy that Milwaukee spent all season trying to get. So they want to get him in shape for the playoffs. This is why they got him. They've literally been trying since training camp to get Jay Crowder on their team. And this, especially if the game gets out of hand, perfect opportunity to give him a few more minutes and get him in shape.
What were they talking in the Discord? What is this guy saying? What does that even mean? Why would he play one rotation?
I don't know. I commented and said people sometimes say stupid shit in the Discord.
There had to be a reason, though, right? What was there?
I think that's something you see. That's not something you see out of the Nets coach. I don't think that's something that's on track here. But
they've played a ton of minutes every game, right? Like, they haven't necessarily
huge minutes.
Yeah.
Like, this is a spot. If you want to take the Bridges pro angle, this is a spot here where if the Nets compete, it's because Mikal Bridges has 60, right? 60 fantasy, not 60 real.
I think you could get it too.
So there you go. All right.
I love Bridges.
We are 415, so only 185 away from Big T taking that beautiful Rum Pure Sports sweatshirt off, showing it all to the people, giving us the answer to the B or C cup question. And we've got the last game of the night. So you've got literally like 5 minutes to get us to 600 likes, which means now is the time. Pull out your burner, sign up for a new YouTube account. When you sign up for that new YouTube account, make sure you subscribe, up our subscription base. We appreciate that. New York Knicks coming off just a terrible home loss to the dreadful Charlotte Hornets at Sacramento. Sacramento been winning. The beam has been getting lit. Sacramento favored by 239.5 implied total. De'Aaron Fox is off injury. Fully healthy Kings team for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson remains questionable. No real news on him that I've seen as to whether or not he's going to go ahead and suit up. Big T, we will stay with you. Knicks, Kings, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, Sacramento, I looked up, and they're the number 2 seed in the West, I think. That's pretty crazy coming into the year, so that's impressive. I like their roster, though, so it makes sense. What did you say about Brunson? I didn't get that update. You think he plays or not?
He's questionable. No real news about whether or not he will suit up.
So quickly, 6,600 if he's out. Price is at least finally fair now with Quickly, or close to fair. So, yeah, I don't see a ton, but like we talked about earlier, Randall, 10K. I'm taking Randall over Markkanen. I like Randall more. Brunson, if he was in there, I think he could be like 3% owned or something. So that's another guy that you could overspend on a little bit. I don't know. Is there even a pivot if he was rolled out or something? But it would probably have to be a 2v2 type pivot in the late game. But I do think if Brunson played, I mean, no one's going to have him. So there's a little bit of value on a slate like that to that. But those are the only guys on the Knicks side. I guess you could play like Josh Hart if Brunson was out, 5,200, but I don't need that. Sacramento, you got a lot of filler types. I mean, you got Sabonis at center. You can always play him. Fox, 9,400. You can always play him. But then you got these fillers like big the Red Velvet that shipped all the money for JSU the other night. 5,800. Again, this slate, I know we keep saying it, but the prices aren't the same as other slates. Like if Kevin Huerter gets you 35 for 5,800, that's pretty massive on this slate. So I definitely think you could go to any of these guys. And I'm a little bit in on like playing Brunson and one of these guys and having like a 2v2. I don't have the exact pivot because I'm only on this stupid laptop, but you get a 2v2 pivot in this late game. If Brunson's out, pivot to maybe it's Quickly in someone else or something. But I don't know. This game's decent. The good part about this game, you got 2 teams that are actually playing to win, playing minutes. I mean, that's what's nice about Sacramento this year, right? They're actually playing minutes. The last couple of years, it was so frustrating where all of a sudden they'd play 18 minutes one night or something after they'd been playing a ton. It made no sense. So I like it. And more fillers in this game, though, right? Like if you get to the end and land on some of these guys, I think they're very good plays.
Yeah, the Kings rotation has stabilized. Of course, it's going to be Fox. It's going to be Barnes. It's going to be Domantas Sabonis, who are going to play the big minutes every night. And then there's been a little bit of fluctuation between Keegan Murray, Huerter, Fox, some other guys that will jump in there a bit. Travis, what do you see in this game, Sacramento hosting the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, let's call this out. Highest total on the slate, and it's a 2-point spread, right? I mean, it's definitely not like something to completely ignore, especially if you play some earlier plays and you're backloaded a bit and you need to maybe make a change to kind of catch up. This game's going to have lower ownership than you'd realize. So I do think overall this is an interesting game. And let's say Jalen Brunson did sit. Yeah, RJ Barrett at 7K is not pretty comfortable, but with no Jalen Brunson, if he sits, why not change Chris Middleton at small forward to RJ Barrett? Isn't that something you'd be interested in as like a little contrarian pivot? So I think RJ Barrett could be really interesting there. Emmanuel Quickly's in the 6K range. It's a little pricey for me. I don't need to get there. Julius Randle, I don't mind as a contrarian spend up at the forward position. I think that could be a little enticing if you want to get a little bit different by spending up at the forward position. Sabonis isn't probably someone I'm getting to, or Fox on this slate. There's other studs that I already prefer, but overall, this is a game you just can't flat out ignore, right? I mean, it's definitely one you got to think about. Like, let's say you play Drew Holiday, and instead you feel like you're on too much chalk and your teams are already kind of in trouble. Switch to a De'Aaron Fox. Could he absolutely cook this Knicks team? Of course, especially if Jalen Brunson sits. You know why? Emmanuel quickly don't play any defense. Like, it could be a spot where he absolutely goes off for a big score. So this is a game that I'm more so using for like some contrarian swaps and pivots later on. If in the night I feel like I'm in trouble. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this game here. I'm not dying for like the game stack of it, like Robert said in the chat, but maybe things can change as the news comes in. So we'll have to see.
And as AP pointed out, the Knicks, a team, one of the most frequent visitors of the overtime period. We are at 437 likes. Does not look like we are going to get there. Looks like we've got late news for Golden State too. Jonathan Kuminga has been ruled out there, says someone in chat. We'll have to confirm that. But it's time for the plays of the day. You got well beyond 400. Excellent job. Don't stop hitting the like button. We'll see if we can get to 600 in the next 3 minutes. And we're going to go to Sweet Travis for the Sweet Travis play of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Big T, it's crazy as it sounds. I don't think people are playing Tyrese Haliburton today. Like, I really don't. And I'm just going to go up and grab him. While everyone decides to play like Desmond Bane, Drew Holiday, Jalen Green with Kevin Porter Jr. not there and Deshaun Nix. Like, I just think Haliburton is going to go under-owned. Now, he's not going to be like 2% on the slate, but at 9.8K, it's a great way to start out the night, grabbing someone like Haliburton. His upside is insane against Houston. 9.8K Haliburton just feels like too good of a play here. So he's going to be my play of the day.
All right, Tyrese Haliburton and Butthole, go ahead, slide into the DMs of Big T. He's invited you to be his guest at the live final. And we'll go ahead and we'll check out who's going to get on the jet. Head over to Paris for the Eiffel Tower play of the day. Look, Milwaukee is going to be able to get pretty much whatever they want against this Brooklyn defense. That's what's been happening since the trades of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But I'm going to go way off the beaten path and try and get ahead of a trend here. Something I talked about. They spent the entire season trying to get this guy. There's not a lot of value on this slate. Played 23 minutes last time out. They want to get him in shape. I can see him playing a few more. And at 4,200, I think that he's a guy that I'm going to take an enormous risk on tonight. Jay Crowder is the Eiffel Tower play of the day. Big T, it's time. That's not Butthole looking in. That's Sweet Travis and Holden. But we're here for the workbench play of the day.
Yeah, I always like to kind of go with what you guys are going to. So I like those two plays because my favorite play, well, Haliburton I thought was definitely a lock. So I'm glad Mangone went with him because I wasn't going to give him for the play of the day. But my favorite play and just a total lock to me, he's going to carry a little ownership, but not as much as some of the chalk guys. Tyus Jones, 6,700 against Golden State. He's going to have the ball in his hands the whole game. Bane's more of a scorer, shooter guy. Like I said, I don't like Bane as much. I think Tyus Jones just crushes tonight for a 50 ball. And I think it works great with your two plays, which I always like. I like to give a little mini core on this Thursday where people can click all three of our names in there and have a lot of flexibility. Yeah, we gave you 2 point guards, but I think we gave a lot of flexibility with the price tags of what you could do on this slate. And none of it's chalk that we threw out there all that much too. So I think we leave you in a good spot.
It forces you off of like Bane and all. It forces you off those other guards, right? It forces you to a different construction, which is what we're trying to do here, right? We're trying to give you a little bit of a different beaten path with some good plays.
Yeah, I feel really good about those three because, like I said, I didn't like Crowder until JT brought it up. You got to not be stubborn and not just put your boots in the ground. You got to know when to – it was good points. I think he could be a great play. And the price point is perfect for him tonight. So I like that. And I want to fade another point too. I want to fade some of those guys like Bane, Drew, Middleton. We got kind of little pivots off of those guys, just tiny pivots to where they can suck some of that action in.
Yeah, he's going to back up both bigs. And look, like I said, I know it's a 1% on play. That's what these plays used to be about.
We don't need like 30, JT. We only need 20 from him.
Literally need 20 on this slate with pricing. And he allows you to avoid some of that bad chalk and get up to the other guys that we want here. Guys, thanks for watching. Really sincerely appreciate it. As always, get on over to Run Pure Sports. Big T, even on the road in that hotel room, he's not at home. He doesn't have the family with him. But he's still going to sacrifice, get his player pool up on his his crappy laptop that he's been miserable about the entire show. But the player pool, the cores will be up. Sweet Travis's 3 max will be up. I'll be in Discord making fun of members who say idiotic things and sharing good mojo. The Sky picks are where it's at, baby. Get on over Run Pure Sports. Use code JTHayes 15% off your first month. If you sign up during the show, DM me, and I'll give you a free week.